Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to your Kyler's franchise mode here in NHL 25. So last episode, if you did not catch it, we had some really tough decisions to make in terms of transactions. So we decided to offload Nicholas just to basically free up more cap space. We also let go of quite an abundance of players that we brought in recently. So our team is still looking pretty similar to it always has, but obviously now we do have a lot more cap space, which is good. We do still have some RFAs, as you can see, holding out, but we do have a lot more cap space for potential trades to make this upcoming season, which is exciting. So I'm hoping that obviously if our team is underperforming, we can land potentially a big fish in the start of the season or trade deadline, something like that. But it should be another good season ahead. I am a little bit worried, of course, because of like big pending UFAs again at the end of the season, but I think this team definitely will be able to make it back to the playoffs, but I'm just obviously a little bit concerned just because obviously our goaltending is a little bit weaker than it's always been. Like normally we've always run a decent starter. Now we have two young guys that haven't super proven themselves. Bergenheim is 23 years old, has spent some time in the AHL. He's going to get a chance to actually prove himself now at the NHL level. He's actually been a pretty good AHL goaltender so far, so maybe he can continue that into the NHL level. And then Irwin was our backup last season, and he was not too bad either, so it's going to be interesting to see who ends up becoming the starter of these two goaltenders, or if they're going to basically share the 82 games this season. So hoping that we get some good results, even though our goaltending's weak, because we do still have a relatively strong defensive core. We did re-sign Howden on a 2-year deal. $8 million might be a little bit pricey to some of you, but I know that he could definitely provide some offense for us. And then obviously guys like Smith getting better will help things as well. So going to be interesting to see what our defensive core is looking like. And then forward-wise, like I said, it's pretty similar to what it's always looked like. But we will get some youth injection with guys like Lysak. And then, of course, all the RFAs currently that are holding out on offense will make us a little bit better too. So going to be interesting to see what our team's looking like going into next year and how we start off the year as well. Hopefully our coaching staff does a decent enough job, or else we could look into potentially getting some new coaches and that type of thing. Now, we didn't get any comments in last episode, so we're going to hop right on into this. The first thing I'm going to be doing here is giving a couple of these RFAs, I think at least one of them, already a contract. The main reason why is I just don't want other teams to eventually try and get these guys for more money and then basically make us pay more, just like they did with Nicholas last offseason. So we are going to try and get Dempsey already on a long-term deal. He will be a pending UFA at the end of the year, so giving him what he wants maybe makes sense already. I feel like he wants more now that we started this episode. I feel like he wanted less before, but his organizational interest is decently high, but I don't think we could drop the asking price that much. We might be able to knock it down by a bar, so I'm going to try and at least save a little bit of money on him. Don't know how much money I could save, but we'll try and get him for like maybe 7.2. Yeah, we'll try and get him for 7.2. If he doesn't accept it, obviously I could renegotiate, but I do like Nelson Dempsey. I think he's been a great playoff performer and stuff too, and we don't really have a lot of right wing depth, so paying for him already I think makes some sense, so we're going to give him that. And I almost am thinking about giving Trotter already a contract. These three guys are going to be really cheap anyways. Trotter is an important player to probably lock up for the future still too. Does have a lot of organizational interest, so I think I'm going to already lock up Trotter, so that way we don't have to risk losing him to free agency in like one of the last seasons. So let's do $5.3 million for 5 years, see if he'll accept that. And then these three guys, like I said, they will be probably like under $2 million each, my guess. Even though Pollock had a really good playoffs and stuff, I think this will be nice and cheap for us. And we'll still have a lot of cap space afterwards, like I said, for potential trades in the 2046-47 season. So I think that is all we need to do. I don't think there's really any players we need to bring in via free agency for now. We could obviously look into potential trades if we need more players at the start of the year, but I think right now, I think I would prefer just to see what a roster looks like, because there is guys in the system that could potentially make the jump up. And also, like I was mentioning before, there is some young guys that are definitely already going to be in our lineup for sure. Like guys like Markstrom might be in the bottom six. De Kaiser might get an opportunity. Howes will probably play again. Hybert's going to be still there. Koivunen, Lysak. Like we definitely have a lot of young guys in our lineup potentially in that bottom six now. So I think that is good to go, and I would prefer to use them in our lineup. So I don't think we're going to make any free agent signings. We're just going to wait and see how our team does to start the year before we jump to maybe making decisions on trading players if they aren't performing that well. So let's advance a few days and see if we get those 2 RFAs I just offered back. And obviously we will wait and see if those other RFAs accept as well. Let me decline it at a trading block because Carlton should not be on our trading block. We're not trying to offload Carlton or Houghton at this point. Like, we are still trying to make the playoffs. Obviously, playoffs are going to be not necessarily tough for us to make. I think we're going to make it for sure. I just think, obviously, this team is going to be regressing throughout the year, and it's going to be tough to win. Houghton and Crane are okay right now still, but they're definitely both really old. Mackinnon might be on the decline more so throughout the season, so I'm not too sure exactly how our team's going to perform this year, but I'm really hoping that it's at least good enough to make the playoffs, because if you make the playoffs, even as a wildcard team, you have a chance to win the cup. So maybe if we make it this year just barely, maybe we'll find ourselves somehow in a cup finals again and get lucky. So, okay, I think that is good. Let's keep on advancing. See if we get any information here. Yep, Dempsey has accepted that extension, which is great. So Dempsey is back on a 3-year deal, which means we don't have to worry about re-signing him again. And then we also got Trotter back on that 5-year deal, which I think that's great as well. He had a really good year last year. Obviously, he could regress a bit, but $5 million isn't really going to break the bank too much. So now if we go to our contract situation, we have $18 million. And like I said, each of these guys should cost, in my opinion, under $2 million a piece. So let's say they each get like $1,850 or something around that. It's probably going to cost us like $3,200 maybe for 2 of these guys. And then Strombo is going to be maybe $1 million. So maybe 4.2, which means we would still have around maybe like $14 million in cap space for potential trades and all that to upgrade our team if we get into trouble. So I think we're in a pretty good spot considering I was a little bit worried about our cap space situation. I offloaded Nicholas just in case, and now we're actually in a pretty good spot with the cap going forward, because like Ragnarsson's a pending UFA at the end of the year, so that's someone player I kind of want to make sure we get him back at least for the last season as well. So he's going to cost a decent chunk in my opinion. So with that said, let's advance to the end of the month and see if any of our RFAs accept. I will also maybe already take a look at that point where some former players went, if I remember their names, because there's Lockhart, Samsonov. Oh man, somebody already got qualified, but it's at least a cheap deal. And it's Mohammed Pollock. We're definitely going to be matching that offer. $1.495 million is exactly where I was expecting Pollock to get paid, so let's match that. I guess they liked his playoff performance, so they tried to steal him from us, but we ain't letting him go for that easily. Strombo got a 2-year deal, but we're going to have to match that. It's a little bit high for Strombo, in my opinion, because he's more of a depth defenseman / top 6 at best, but 1.55 will match that as well. It's not crazy and going to hurt us that much long term, in my opinion. We could always trade him away if it does. And we're just waiting on Terry, which nobody went after Terry, which is kind of surprising, considering he was the best of those RFAs. But let's try and see where some of our former players signed, just because we might as well do that while we're in the off-season portion before I forget. So let's find where Lockhart went, Samsonov. Who else did we let go of in the off-season? I'm trying to remember if there was any other big players. I don't feel like there was. So Lockhart signed with the Toronto Maple Leafs, so he stays in the Eastern Conference, which is unfortunate. And he's getting 7.83 for 5 years. So we probably could have brought some people like him back. But once again with Lockhart, I brought him in more because Crane was injured. And then since Crane's back now, there's not really a roster space for him. So that's the main reason why we let go of Lockhart. So good luck to him in Toronto. Hopefully he doesn't beat us in a playoff scenario. And then Samsonov, who I wanted to kind of bring back Samsonov, to be honest, because he was a really good goal scorer with us. But I am prioritizing a little bit of the youth a bit on this team. So he signed with the Winnipeg Jets. Now, he probably got overpaid, in my opinion. We'll see. But I think he got probably paid a lot. 84 at 28. He is making 9.45 for 5 million. Or 5 years, not 5 million. What am I saying? Not 5 million years. But yeah, 5-year deal at 9.45. No clause involved. But like I said, he was a really good player when he was here. 36 goals. It would have been nice to re-sign him, but I'm hoping we could still find that goal scoring ability. If not, we could probably trade for somebody that could provide that for us, hopefully. So Good luck to Samsonov in Winnipeg. And I think that was all we'd let go of. There could have been maybe another player, but I can't remember off the top of my head. So let's begin the sim up to next season and see what we're working with in terms of our lineup. We are still waiting on Terry. We will give him a contract here shortly if he doesn't accept, which he has not. I'm surprised no team went after Terry. Like I said, they went after the lower end guys, but Terry, for some reason, maybe it's because he's a grinder, they decided not to go for him. Because Terry's a decent enough fourth line kind of guy. He would be still an RFA at the end of the year, so we'll give him his 1.375. That's a nice cheap deal for me. And he's back. So we have $17.268 million in cap space to spend in terms of trades, upgrading the team if we need to throughout the year. So I think we did a really good job with that. Also, I did ask you guys about if we need to sign certain prospects for the AHL. I didn't get any replies in the comments, like I said, so we are going to already sign Jensen for the AHL just to give him a chance to maybe get some growth already. Blanchard is an interesting one. He is already 19 years old and he's a 70. He's not AHL eligible, so I guess we'll probably have to wait at least a year. But he's not that bad, so yeah, we'll wait on the rest of these dudes because I think a lot of them aren't AHL eligible yet, so that is good and ready to go. Let's sim up to next season, get this lineup set up, and we'll see what we're looking like. We probably will look similar than we always looked, but I'm a little bit worried about the drop-off from guys like Crane and all that, so kind of not expecting to be as strong as in years past. But let's do some roster adjustments, so we'll go roster moves, see if there's anybody that needs to be sent down or called up. Wow, Bergenheim became the starter. I was not expecting that. That's interesting because Irwin was the backup last year, but both of them are listed as backup, so maybe Bergenheim will drop before the season starts, but likely Bergenheim will be getting majority of the starts, and he's never played an NHL game, so I don't know if that's a great thing, but I will definitely take it. And Olver, who also has elite potential, will get to be the starter in the minors. Canzanello will be the backup, so there's the AHL and our NHL goaltending. We do need a depth defenseman up here. We do have Schaefer, Holmstrom, Carlton, Smith. Houghton is dropped to an 80. Still listed as a top 4, but he will likely be playing top 6 minutes. Next to Jersina, likely. Oh, Ekblad's ready too. Ekblad's a right-handed shot, does have medium elite potential, so Ed Ekblad should probably be up here over Jersina. Jersina's 24, only a low 4. He's a right D-man. That's interesting. We do need a depth defenseman. Strombo as the depth defenseman makes a lot of sense, so we'll call him up as we have to send a forward down, so we'll do that in a bit. But Ekblad is the top 6 defenseman or Jersina. I guess I'll look at the chemistry and compare the two, but first we need to find out who needs to be sent down here out of the forwards because Strombo has to come up. So for right wingers anyways, we got Dempsey, Lysak up to an 82, Koivunen is an 81, DeKaiser is a 79, Hybrid 79, and House a 79. Not too bad. AHL-wise, Grollo is pretty much ready too. Damn. Low lead potential was a 4th round pick. I almost don't even remember this dude at all. But he's been playing in the AHL for quite a long time at this point. Already 24. He might not be bad as a depth forward if we need one still. That way we don't scratch somebody that might actually have potential. Left wing side of things, we got Ragnarsson, Kazanov, Crane, Trotter, Terry, and DesRochers. DesRochers is actually listed as a 4th liner. I was probably going to use him maybe more as a healthy scratch. I think I'm going to send him down over some of the younger options. But it would be better to have him scratch probably over the younger options too. Is there anybody else that could get sent down? Pollock I'm not sending down. McMillan's pretty close to being ready too. There's a lot of random guys that are actually pretty close. So we need to send down still one forward. So let's go to our forwards here. Who is the worst forward in the NHL? And actually the best in the AHL is Markstrom. Markstrom probably should be up here too, technically. So if I called up Markstrom as well, let me go back to left wingers. We actually do have a lot of left wingers. I'd prefer to use DesRochers as a scratch, as I said, over somebody like Markstrom or Grummett Morris, who also has low lead potential. I don't know why all these low leads are growing so fast all of a sudden. Howes is already 24. He's okay to be a depth forward probably. Hybert would be still like a bottom 6 option. DeKaiser's young. He's playing. Koivunen's playing. Lysak, Dempsey are all playing. So these 5 guys are playing for sure. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Oh boy, who does that make as a scratched in? DeRoche as a scratch and House as a scratch would be okay. But that means I probably have to send down one forward here. I would probably... Who would I send down? Because I'm not sending down any of these three guys for sure. I don't want to send down any of these guys. And then right wing wise, I'd have to send down probably between Hybert and DeKaiser. Hybert's 21, low lead potential, playmaker. DeKaiser's the exact same type of thing. They were drafted a couple of picks apart. I didn't even realize that. Who's better defensively? Hybert's got better defensive awareness by a long shot and better offensive awareness. It might have to be DeKaiser back in the AHL for one more year. But he could get called up halfway through the season if we really want. Yeah, I think for now DeKaiser is going to be the one that goes down. It's kind of a tough decision on that part. And then, like I said, with defensively, I think we'll probably send Jersina down because Ekblad's got the better potential and he is younger. But I do want to see the chemistry first and foremost. So let's go best AHL lines and we will see what we're working with here. So first line, we probably could go to Crane still on the top line. I think that's not a bad option. Obviously, he's now an exact top 9, so he is definitely on decline. This is probably his last season coming up here. So let's go Crane, Makinen, and... Or actually, maybe we go Crane, Ashton. We'll go with Crane. Ragnarsson can play on that top line as well because he can play both wings. We'll go with Crane, Ashton, and Ragnarsson. I do like Makinen, but let's give him some new line mates and make it both the young guys, Strotter and Dempsey. Kazanov is a second line guy, but he'll get penalty kill time and stuff anyways, so he should be okay with his ice time. Lysak is there. Howes as a center's okay. It's not bad. Terry, Pollock, and Hybert. And then scratches DeRoche. And Koivunen should not be scratched, though. I don't know who I would scratch still. Would I scratch Terry? No, Terry can't be scratched. I think we have too many forwards here, which is unfortunate. We're going to move Hybert over to the left side. Maybe I didn't even actually need to re-sign Terry. Because Koivunen is a sniper. He should probably be playing. He's got actually really good shooting too. So I probably would prefer to have him in almost a top 6 kind of role. Lysak's a checking forward, so he could be okay as the 4th line guy maybe. Yeah, maybe we'll do something like this. And we have to maybe think about trading Terry here. Because he's already listed as a checking forward. I know I just re-signed him, but... Yeah, I think we might actually have to trade Terry because it doesn't make sense for him to be scratched. DeRoche might complain about ice time too. I could send him down to the AHL so they at least get playing time. That's actually probably the better play. I don't want to use Markstrom as a healthy scratch though. McMillan, probably okay to be a healthy scratch because he is a minor scoring forward. He's already 23. So, Menino probably is okay to be scratched for sure. I think I'd probably use Menino and Grummett Morris as the scratches. They're both minor scoring forwards, but they're both very close to NHL ready. Grollo could be okay as a depth option too, hypothetically. But, maybe it's okay to use him. Maybe I'll go with Grummett, or not Grummett Morris, Grollo and Menino as the scratches, which means I'll send Terry to the AHL. I don't really want to send Terry to the AHL because I feel like it doesn't make much sense, but like I said, we could trade him away if we need to. We'll also send DeRoche down just because DeRoche will complain. And like I said, we'll call up the older guys. That way we aren't taking away ice time as well. So Menino, and we will call up Garolo just because those guys are pretty much capped out almost. Let's go best AHL lines again. And our NHL lines are set, I think, in terms of 5-on-5 play. Really good looking chemistry on the offense. And in depth is looking decent enough. Like I said, Stravo's okay to be a depth defender. And then Menino and Grollo, they're at least going to be in an NHL lineup. So defensively, though, let's see what we got. Schaefer, Holmstrom. We'll go with Carlton and Smith. And then we'll go with Houghton playing with Jersino or Ekblad. Right now, Jersino makes it an even 0, which is not too bad. I probably want Houghton on his off wing, to be honest. But we'll see. So let's go back to roster moves here and see if Ekblad would be better. We'll send down temporarily the other D-man just to kind of see if we have better chemistry with Ekblad up here rather than Jersina. Because Ekblad has better potential and stuff anyway, so if it's an even 0, I think I'll probably play Ekblad over to 2. At least we have good enough depth that we could call up guys from the minors and stuff like that. So let's get Ed Ekblad into the lineup. Ooh, that might make it a -1 unless that's glitched. Let's double check on that. Who is scratched here? Jersina. That's good. And, oh, it makes it an even 0. It does not make it a -1. That's good. Yeah, well, we're going to run with this as our defense. So, Ed Ekblad makes the NHL. Schaefer, Holmstrom, Carlton, Smith, Houghton, and Ekblad. Houghton will still be getting power play time, though. So, he shouldn't complain. Kazanov will also be getting first-line power play time if the AI wants it to keep him there. So, he won't complain about ice time being a third-line guy. And then, what about our other power play unit? Let's see this. Trotter should probably be on the power play, which he is. I don't know about having all forwards on that power play unit, though. I feel like there needs to be another defenseman on this unit, so we'll give Schaefer some power play time as well on that second unit. So that should be nice and effective. Yeah, that's fine like that, though. Penalty kill, Crane, Ragnarsson. I feel like Pollock needs to be on one of these units, though, instead. Is Pollock on a unit? He is with Lysak. Okay, you know what? I think this looks good. Let's double check the AHL just to make sure nobody is in the lineup that shouldn't be. That's good. Lineup wise, we are going to be prioritizing our younger guys that are in the AHL still, which means the veterans that are in the AHL are going to get sent down in the lineup, I think, a little bit. That looks fine, though, the way it is, I think. Gove is actually a top 6 forward prospect. Damn. I forgot about that guy. Svedberg's low elite potential. He could probably go higher than Jersina at this point. And then let's try and get rid of the minus on this line. Perfect. Even though that's a forward playing on the defensive core, it's not bad chemistry-wise. So, there you go. NHL and AHL is set up for the 2046-7 season, and I think it's going to be a solid year. Honestly, this team doesn't look that bad. We have depth in the AHL we could call up if we get into trouble. And then also we can make trades with the amount of cap space we have left. So we'll call this top line the Carr line because we've never put Ashton with Crane and Ragnarsson before. It's always been Mäkinen. But Mäkinen is kind of on the decline. So I think giving him some young line mates like Schroeder and Dempsey who could score goals, I think that could be a really intriguing second line. So I think we're ready to get into simulating some of the season. I don't know how much we'll simulate in this episode, but I would like to get at least a good chunk of it done. So that way we could probably get through these last few seasons relatively quick. I honestly don't know if I'll be able to start my next series that I had planned in NHL 25. I'm thinking I still will have time. But when you think about it on paper, literally we're almost near the end of July. I would only have like a month or so of that series. So, because if NHL comes out in September, So I don't really know if I'll have another series right after this or if I'll have to wait till NHL 26 to start off the series I had planned originally. It's just this series has definitely been dragging on a lot longer than I expected. So anyways, with that said, let's get through the preseason, see how our team does. Obviously, the young goaltenders, I think, is the biggest question mark we have. But I think it should be good enough with the way it is. All right, what does Kleppis think about our roster on paper? Does he think we're good enough to make the playoffs? Let's first go to preseason focus, and we will go to 5v5 focused. All right, so season goal, what does he think about this roster on paper? He says we're good enough to make the playoffs again. So we should be a playoff team this year if the coach is correct, which is nice to see. And yeah, let's hope that we could get off to a decent start because obviously this team will probably get worse as time goes on. Now, Tampa wants Ashton in a third for an elite goalie in a third. And it's like, we already have our young and elite goaltenders, so I'm just going to remove that. It added more good players to my block again, which I do not want because we're not trying to rebuild here. We're trying to make sure we at least make the playoffs till the end of the series. Because if we miss the playoffs, obviously that's just going to waste a year pretty much on contracts and all that stuff. So I do expect Ragnarsson to have a pretty big year this year, but I kind of want to give him his contract extension already. Is that a bad thing to think of? Let's just check how much he wants, actually, before the season starts, because I kind of want to get him locked up so that way I don't have to worry about re-signing him this upcoming offseason and him demanding like $15 million or something random. So let me stop the sim here, even though we haven't gone through the preseason yet. Let's double check on Ragnarsson. I'm curious also on how Ekblad will do in the NHL as a top 6 defenseman next to Houghton, and hopefully he does well. So in terms of the player that I wanted to bring back, it was Ragnarsson. Let's see how much he's asking for right now. Obviously, Crane's also pending UFA, but I think he's going to retire, potentially. And that's why I was thinking we need to look into signing Ragnarsson already. That is a lot of money. He does not bring the craziest amount of stats either, but it looks like he would be willing to drop his asking price quite a bit because he's got that organizational interest. But he's definitely a pricey one. And I think it would get more pricier if we wait longer, too. If I gave him a clause, let's go with a modified no trade clause, just because in case we get into cap constraints, then I could still move him. It does not change anything, though, with his interest. A full no trade clause would do a lot more, but that's a huge risk. Maybe I should do the no movement plus modified. That doesn't change much either. I guess we'll just go no trade clause on that. That's a lot of money, 12.35. I feel like it's kind of worth it considering he's going to get better and better. He's 27 years old now. At this point, he's one of our younger guys still. He is coming off 73 points last year, which I think is a career high. And has been a pretty good playoff producer, too. You know what? I know it's going to be maybe one of these deals that we look at and say, hey, maybe it's a bad deal. But I think we got to get him signed now. And I'd prefer to do it before the season starts. Just because if we end up losing this guy, it's going to definitely hurt our depth a lot, especially if we also lose Crane to retirement in the offseason. So we need to hold on to him. I know we have a lot of wingers and all that too, but I do really like Ragnarsson, kind of. So we'll see if he'll accept 12.35. Is it a high price? Yes. He's only 27 now. He's only 27. And then we don't have to worry about re-signing that guy ever again, which is good. So we'll see if he accepts that before the season starts, which he probably will. Unless he decides that it's too little money. Let's see. Will he accept? And yes, he will. Nice. Okay, so Calle Ragnarsson will be back again next year. We don't have to worry about him this offseason. That's a big sigh of relief, in my opinion. All right, let's go through the preseason. We'll take a look at some preseason stats. And then, like I said, I'd like to get a good chunk of the season done. But it really depends on how this team's performing. Because if we're under-simulating, obviously I might want to stop a little bit early. If we're doing really well, might as well keep simming almost, right? All right, so preseason, we finished 5-1-1. That's a pretty damn solid preseason. Like I said, I think the biggest question mark going into the regular season is our goaltending, so I'm hoping we get some good results from Bergenheim and also from Irwin, since they're both quite young. Forwards, though, stats for the preseason, Mäkinen was doing well in terms of goal scoring. Kazanov was over a point per game. Ragnarsson had 4 points. Crane only had 3. Might be on a regression year. Hausel had 6 points. That's a pretty big surprise. He still lists as a depth forward, so I don't know how good he will do. I'm curious on guys like Koivunen. I feel like I should give Koivunen some power play time instead of Lysak. Yeah, that's probably a good idea. We'll probably adjust the power play here shortly. Howden had 6 points in 7 games, so Howden looks like he might be still having a good year ahead, potentially, if he plays like that. And then from a goaltending perspective, both young goalies played really good. So I really hope that's the type of results we see from them this season as well. So let's go back to edit lines here briefly and see if we could get Koivunen into the power play unit. Just because with his good shooting categories, I think he could be a really good rookie this season. Like, he could definitely surprise some people, maybe be a Calder favorite by the end of the year. So we did put, though, Trotter up, and that's the only thing is now I'd have to take somebody else off the power play, and I already put Schaefer on it. Kazanov being on the power play probably doesn't make a lot of sense. But maybe we'll go to power play line 2 and then just take out Trotter on this unit because it's a -2 anyways. And we will give a chance to Koivunen on one part of the power play. It's not a full power play, but at least that way, maybe he has a chance to score some goals this season that are not 5-on-5, so... Alright, so that's the preseason dealt with. Let's get to the start of the season. Like I said, we'll probably do a couple months at least, just to see how this team's doing. But I kind of want to get to maybe the halfway point already, but it really depends on how this team's doing by that state. So let's go back also to our edit lines here screen briefly. I do want to take a look at the goalies again, just because I'm curious on what the actual ratings for the start of the season are compared to what they were during the preseason. So Lysak's only an 80, not an 82. So that's okay for him to be in this spot for sure. Koivunen's only a 79 and not an 82, but that's fine. Aside from that, Hybrids a 78. Definitely a little bit weak in some areas of the bottom six, but it's a lot of youth that could grow, so I'm excited for that. And then defensively, Smith's actually an 83, Ekblad's a 79, and Houghton went up to an 81. Houghton might not be okay with his 5-on-5 ice time, but he has a lot of power play time, so I'm hoping he's okay with that. And then goaltending, Bergenheim is going to be the guy that gets majority of the starts. He's an 83, and Irwin's an 81, so we'll see which young goalie ends up being the better of the two. Hopefully, we get good results from both of them. And in terms of our depth players, Strombo went up to a top 6 defenseman. That's not ideal because I was hoping he'd be okay with a scratch position, but he might complain because Ekblad has taken his roster spot, basically. So we'll see what ends up happening with Strombo, but maybe there's a chance he gets dealt, and then we would have to call up probably somebody as a depth defenseman or trade for one. But right now, I don't know if Strombo is going to complain. I really hope he doesn't, but likely he will start to complain a little bit since he's actually listed as the top 6. All right, so with that said, let's get into the 2046-47 season and see what this team could do. There's a lot of good veterans on this team, but also some youth on the roster, so I think it should be some interesting results. So let's go to November the 1st and see what we do in our first month of action. We have a lot of games against Western Conference opponents to start off the year, so that's kind of interesting, but let's see how we do. See if we could string together some wins. We do beat the Sharks in our first game of the season, which was on home ice. We also beat the LA Kings nicely, so that's some good defensive results for a young team as Jalen Reese is on waivers. I don't know who this is. 32-year-old depth defenseman. We kind of do need a depth defenseman if I was to move out Strombo, but I would have to trade Strombo immediately after reclaiming this guy. Like, he could be our depth defenseman right now, but I think I'm going to wait and see if Strombo actually complains. Because Strombo, I like the guy, but he hasn't been getting a huge chance here. There's another guy on waivers from Minnesota, Stanislav Dmitriev. Basically the exact same type of thing, a little bit of an overall. Damn, I cannot even talk. Lower overall is what I was trying to say. I almost combined lower and over at the same time, so I almost said lower overall. But yeah, anyways, another depth defenseman, lower overall, and a little bit younger, but we don't need those depth defenders just yet. So we did lose to Tampa, which kind of sucks, but we do beat Buffalo. We've had some pretty good defensive starts this season, which is nice with the young goaltending and kind of youngish defensive core in some ways. But we do lose 2 in a row after that, but we do beat the Canucks 7-1. So a little bit of an inconsistent start, considering we did start 3-1 and lost 2 in a row, and then won 7-1. But obviously a lot of season left to go, so I'm not too worried at this point. We're at least kind of winning a decent chunk of games, but hopefully we don't ever go on a super long losing streak. Like I said, the young goaltending definitely could be up in the air this season, but I think our defensive core is relatively solid that they should do okay. It's more about the goal scoring, if it's actually going to return to form or not, because it's been a bit of a problem for us, right? So I'm kind of interested if the young guys could help us push the needle in terms of scoring more goals. But let's go to the end of November, see how we do in a busy month, and see if that could help us kind of pull away from being more of a 500 team. Nashville 5-3 victory. Rangers 5-4 overtime victory. So it looks like our offense has been okay in some of these games too, which is good to see, because maybe we'll actually start to find our offensive game a little bit. It looks like it, at least so far to start off the season. There's 2 losses in a row and bad offensive games, so maybe not. We do beat the Canucks there. We do beat Montreal. Tampa is a win as well. Damn, the team is starting to find some wins. Way more than losing, which is good. Couple more wins. Pittsburgh, another win. Carolina is a loss, but 14-6 at December the 1st. Liking the looks of this. We do obviously have guys in the AHL that should be probably in the NHL, so maybe we could trade them away to get better players, but the AHL team should be cooking this year as well, which is good. So we are currently the best team in the Metropolitan Division, but obviously it's a tight race, but so far so good. And we are currently one of the best teams in the NHL at this point. So that's also good. Might as well continue to simulate. We'll go to the end of December. And yeah, we'll probably go to halfway point of the season at this point, to be honest, because our team's been good enough. But this could hurt us potentially. Cole Ashton has been injured with an upper body injury. He will be out till December the 5th. So that means Makinen's going to have to go back to the top line spot. And we're going to have to make some line adjustments here. Pollock was what type of player? Again, power forward. Howes was more of a playmaker. Yeah, we could get Howes into that second line because he's a playmaker. Pollock could go up as well. And then taking that fourth line center spot will give Menino his first taste of NHL action at the age of 26. I don't expect this guy to do too much, but he does have very good passing stats. So him slotting in exactly where Ashton was is not a bad thing, but he's also going to be playing fourth line minutes too. But some power play time for him. He should be able to get some points under his belt, which could help him a little bit. So it does suck to lose Ashton, but at least Menino will get in a few games at the age of 26 already. So a little bit of an older rookie, but we'll get some games, which is good. So we just lost to the Devils 3-0, but at least it's an okay defensive game, and Ashton's already back, so I don't even know if Menino got a single game in. I don't think so. Wasn't expecting Ashton to be out for like a day only. But, oh no, Menino did play a game. It was against New Jersey, the one that we got shut out in, so he didn't do too much, but at least Ashton is ready to go again, and that will definitely help a bit with the scoring, because I'm assuming Ashton's going to be doing relatively well playing on the top line spot, because he's been more of a second/third line guy for us for a long time. So for him to finally get opportunity on that top line is kind of nice. Makinen is not injured. That's okay. Montreal 2-0 win. Winnipeg 4-3 loss. That's okay. Nicholas Holmstrom's now been injured, so that's a bit of a substantial injury on the defensive side of things. He'll be out till December 14th. Let's go replace player on that. 3-2 win over Carolina. Calgary is a 4-3 loss, so a couple losses this month. Then Ashton goes down with another injury. He will be out till January 2nd this time, so Menino will get more playing time. But I'm not liking how these injuries are kind of piling up out of nowhere again. It always seems to affect us all at once rather than spread out throughout the season. So let's get Menino back in here. Strombo probably complaining yet? No, he's not, because he's playing because of Holmstrom's injury now. I think, right? Yeah, Strombo's getting top line time when he's playing, so he should be okay, maybe. But I'm still worried about his ice time a bit. All right, well, let's see what we do here. Is Holmstrom is already back? Was Strombo not out that long, or Strombo in not that long? I thought that was only like a day. Wow, we're getting a lot of notifications out of nowhere, huh? Strombo got to play 2 games with +2, so did his job defensively. I'll definitely take that. Holmstrom will come back in. I'm really glad we locked up Holmstrom when we did, just because I didn't want to be spending too much on him down the road. So, anyways, I don't know what happened in that Nashville game, but there's another injury. I feel like I've only been able to simulate like a few days before all these injuries, but Mohamed Pollock's now been injured with an injured wrist. He's out till the 22nd. Let's go replace player on that because he's in the bottom 6 anyways. We do beat Carolina. Crane's now been injured with a pulled groin. Everybody on this team is getting hurt. Everybody. Oh man, that's definitely going to hurt us a little bit in terms of winning games, but as long as we stay above 500, it should be okay. Pollock is back, so that could help things a little bit. But Grollo got a chance to play because of Pollock's injury. So, shout out to Grollo. We'll get Pollock back in this spot. Menino is still down there because Ashton's still out. Crane's still out. So, Strombo was on the forward side of things, which obviously we don't want. So, we are going to put Grollo onto that top line spot for the time being. Meanwhile, even though he doesn't play left wing. We do beat the Flyers, the Rangers, we beat them as well. So yeah, we're still winning games without those players in the injury bug, which is good. So Ashton's back. Hopefully he could stay healthy in the next half of the season, though, because I do not really like the amount of injuries we've suffered in this episode alone. So Ashton could come back in here. We'll move Pollock down, House down, and go like that. Perfect. That's all good. The only player waiting to return is Crane, and he'll be back probably right away, right? Let's see. No, he's not back yet. We do beat the Kings in a shootout. And final game of 2046, Koivunen gets hurt in his rookie season. The amount of injuries, man. Pulled groin. Let's go replace player on that for the time being. And Crane is back. He probably literally just went where Koivunen was, right? Yeah, he was. I need to put a defenseman there temporarily because I need to put Crane exactly back where he was. So let's put Strombo in the spot just for his time being. We will go back to where Grollo is, get Crane back in that spot, and we'll take Strombo out, and we will put Grollo in that spot. So Grollo will get to play some third line minutes, which is okay. All right, so 23-11 at January 1st in our first 34 games. We are still going to go to a halfway point, but We're 1 point up on the Blue Jackets for the lead in the Metro right now. And we're still probably one of the best teams in the league, which is pretty awesome. So this young/old veteran team is not doing too bad. I did expect a bit of regression maybe this year, but I think we're finding our offensive game better this year, maybe than in years past. So we got to go through 7 more games. So we need to go through past this Devils game. So let's do that. See if we get string together a few more wins, and then we'll take a look at some stats. But so far, so good with this team. But obviously, if we win the division, is that going to hurt us with our playoff chances? Tough to say. So Hybert's now been injured, so we are still suffering a lot of injuries, which is not great, but at least we should be okay without them, I would assume. Pittsburgh lost. We've lost 3 in a row. Not necessarily ideal, but injuries are kind of catching up to us, I guess, a little bit. We will take Menino out of the lineup because that's where Hybert was playing. We'll get Hybert back in here. I don't even know if it's pronounced Hybert or Hibbert, but I'll just say Hybert anyways. We do beat Tampa and New Jersey. And Ashton's been injured for the 3rd time this season. I don't know what's with this guy, but he's having a tough time staying healthy this year. But at least it's for another week only. Let's just go replace player on that. But there we go. 26-15. We did lose 4 of our last 5 games, which isn't ideal, but we are still 2nd place in the Metro at the halfway point. Not too bad. Let's take a look at some team stats, and then we'll look at our player stats individually as well. But if we go to team stats here right now, you can see we are the 13th best offensive team, but we're the best defensive team in the NHL. I was not expecting to be the best defensive team, to be honest. 13th in offense, though, is really good because that's a lot better than it was early in the season last year. So at least our offense is already good. And then we're very good defensively. Power play probably could use some work. It's 17th right now. And we are also 8th on the penalty kill. So not too bad. The crazy thing is we're 13th in goals for, but I do see that Ragnarsson's leading this team in points. That's why I gave him an extension already. And he's only got 39 points in 41 games. So I'm guessing we have some solid depth scoring based on that. But obviously we're only the 13th in the league in terms of scoring, so it's not going to be crazy. But let's take a look at some of these stats here and see if there's anybody that's underperforming or overperforming. But starting off with Mäkinen, who's 34 years old now at this point, 37 points in 41 games. He's having a solid year for his age. I will definitely take it. We did move him down to the second line, but he is doing good. Ashton's been pretty bad, actually. I'm not too sure why. Because he is getting power play time, I think, right? He doesn't have any power play points. I got to double check on if he has power play time. If he doesn't, then we got to get him on the power play. But 12 points in 35 games is kind of quiet for a guy that's playing top line center. So I probably should be moving Mäkinen to the first line center spot based on this alone. But Ashton's also been injured multiple times this year. His durability is an 83, though, so I don't understand it really. But we'll definitely take a look and see if Ashton needs to be on the power play. Pollock's on 11 points. He almost has as much points as Ashton. That's kind of surprising. And then Menino's on 4 points in 9 games. So, like I said, Menino might be older as a rookie, and he might not be that great, but he's a decent enough depth forward that we could throw him in and he could get up some points. Then from a left wing side of things, Ragnarsson's on the 39 points. He's been very good this season. Glad we gave him that extension because I think it was important, especially because his asking price would probably be going up as the season goes on. Crane's on 30 points, so Crane hasn't slowed down at all despite his age. 36 games and 30 points, 16 goals. He's an 84 overall. This is probably still his last season in my opinion. So we'll see if we could get him a Stanley Cup, but he's likely going to retire as a New York Islander in my opinion. 21 points in 41 games for Trotter. He's been a little bit quiet, but he is still on pace for 40 plus points. We did pay him an extension of 5.3. Maybe it's a bit high right now, but I think it could still work out once Corrine retires. Kazanov, 19 points, not bad. How is he liking his ice time? Looks like he's okay with his ice time. That's good. And then from a right wing perspective, Dempsey's on 29 points, 17 goals for Dempsey. I like that. That's why I brought him back on an extension. Lysak has a rookie, 13 points. Howe's got 13 points. Hybert's got 11. Koivunin's only got 1 goal in 34 games. It's 6 points. Obviously, he's listed as a dev forward, but with 4-star shooting, you'd think he would score more, but his offensive awareness is kind of low. So maybe that's why. And then Grola's a depth forward's been good. 5 points in 13 games and a +6. Like that. From a defensive standpoint, Holmstrom's got 27 points. Houghton's got 22. So Houghton, despite being 37 years old, is still playing really good offensively. He's up there with Holmstrom, despite being literally 11 years older. Damn. And then Schaefer's on 20 points. Carlton's a pending UFA this year as well, but he's got 17 points. Hopefully we could re-sign him for one of the last seasons as well. Smith on 10 points +12. Ekblad's got 8 points +2. Not bad for the rookie. He is more of a defensive defenseman in a way, even though he is listed as a two-way. His shot and passing aren't the craziest, but glad he made the NHL. And then Strabo's been a +3 in 4 games, and he has not been liking his ice time when he has been a healthy scratch. So we probably have to still think about if we want to move on from Strombo and find an actual depth defenseman, just because we can't really use him as a scratch too often. Goaltending-wise, we have 2 goaltenders that are both young as hell. We are still a great defensive team. We are the #1 defensive team. And look at these stats from the 2 young guys, though. Both have a .919 save percentage. We only have 1 shutout as a team, but we're so good defensively this season, and these guys have probably been the main reason why. Bergenheim has 5 assists at the halfway point of the season. How good is his passing? Where is his passing stats here? 80? And he's got 5 assists already. Damn. Juha Bergenheim is playing like friggin', what's his name? What's the Bergenheim that used to play for the Islanders? I can't even think of his first name right now for some reason. Sean Bergenheim. But Juha Bergenheim is literally playing like a forward as a goaltender. 5 assists. Damn. And really good numbers. I am pretty surprised with the goaltending results. I was not expecting Bergenheim to come in as a rookie and do this well. But he's literally outperforming Nicholas kind of almost in a way from last year. So that's impressive. Let's briefly take a look at some stats around the league for fun as well while we're at it. We'll also look at the trading block just in case there's any trades to make next episode. But maybe we stay the course. We do have a lot of cap space though. So right now, we did see Columbus was the best offensive team because we are playing them, I think, around this point. But yeah, they have 2 of the top point getters in the league right now, Lyon and Hakkarainen. Hakkarainen's leading the league with 35 goals at this point. Damn. All right. Best defenseman in terms of points right now, Thomas Ersberg, our former prospect. I knew eventually he was going to break out. He's over a point per game. He's going to probably win a Norris after leaving us too, but he's won multiple Stanley Cups since leaving us too, so maybe we should have held on to Ersberg a little bit longer. Tough to say. But yeah, he's leading defenseman in points. From a goaltending perspective, the most wins right now, Nicholas in Edmonton. We did trade him to Edmonton. He's been actually really good this season still too. A .912 save percentage and a 2.84 goals against average. But look who's right behind him. The Bergenheim. No, so I don't really know who's the favorite right now for the Vezina. A lot of season left to go, but probably it would be Chimera in Colorado at this rate. He's got a .925 save percentage. But yeah, from an offensive perspective, Bergenheim's got the most assists by a long shot. So shout out to our goaltender. And then best rookie so far this year as well as Thomas Muller in Buffalo. All right. So there is that. Like I said, we do have good depth in the AHL too if we need to call up people. So let me go to the AHL lines for a second here. They're 17, 16, and 3 though, so they aren't simulating that great, which is kind of surprising. But there is guys that literally could be on our NHL team right now, or we could potentially make some trades. So there's Markstrom, who's 23 years old. He's a 3-star shooter, so he's not going to probably simulate that well in the NHL. There's also De Keyser, who's probably pretty much ready here as well. Does have good passing, but not good shooting. You have Terry, who obviously should be probably back in the NHL, but we had to demote him just because I wanted him to be playing. He's okay with his ice time in the AHL, but probably realistically wants to be in the NHL. Same with DeRoche for that matter too. But interesting that this AHL team is not doing that well. I expected maybe some better results, but looks like Olver is having a tough time being a starter down there right now, even though he's got good potential. All right, so with that said, the final things we got to take a look at is the trading block. Like I said, we have a lot of money in cap space, so we could make some pretty substantial deals this year, or we could pretty much just maintain our roster. We have $16 million to make trades, 16.3 to be exact. or 318, whatever you want to say. But let's go to the trading block just to see what's out there. And like I said, we could make trades in the next episode, but it might not be necessary. All right, so starting off on the Ducks, they have Lehman Sundin. Seeing those two last names just make me think of the rivalry that my Sens had with the Leafs back in the 2000s, so that's funny. Obviously, Sundin used to play with us at one point in this franchise mode. Boston's got an elite goalie. We don't really need goaltending, but that's kind of interesting. They also have an enforcer on the block. Of course, Boston would have drafted an enforcer. Buffalo looks like mostly younger guys. Wilford's pretty much an NHL. Ooh, listed as a second line forward. I was not expecting that. I thought he was a prospect. But 78 at 26 listed as a second line forward. And he's been a healthy scratch all year. That's kind of crazy. 20 points last year, not crazy results, but listed as a second line forward and he's been scratched. 4-star shooter. What overall is this guy even? $10 million, that was a high up cap hit. I don't know if I could justify bringing him in on a $10 million contract, especially with multiple years. But he's probably a decent sniper. But he's just not getting the playing time. What was his career best? 28 goals. Definitely a proven goal scorer a little bit for that 1 year, but I don't know if he's not as good anymore, but he's probably like an 83, 84, my guess. He's not crazy. Manning and Saprik in there. In Buffalo, same with Versailles and Shields. Defensemen, I don't need them. If anything, we could always maybe look to bring in another sniper or something, but we don't have to. Goaltending, there is in Carolina, there's Beta. We don't need goalies, but he's a starter, actually, with 1 year left. Chicago's got Valaket, who's an 80 overall sniper. Listed as a bottom 6 forward at this point. Only 4 goals in 41 games, but used to be good in his prime, I think, but since then he is now on the decline. Yeah, because he's probably close to retirement. Aside from that, Colorado's got some prospects. We don't need prospects at this stage. Columbus actually still has some good players on the block despite being in a playoff spot and being very solid this season. So they have Greening, who's still a decent bottom 6 defensive center. They have Eichel, who's a sniper. 9 goals and 17 assists. Pretty solid. And there's Henricius with 19 points. I don't think I would be trading for any of these guys because it doesn't really make sense from my perspective that Columbus would want to move them. Also, Hunt has 17 goals. This guy's actually a pretty solid goal scorer. Huh. All right. We head to Dallas. Komatov's still in the block, our former goalie prospect. He's injured currently, and he's having a really rough year. Poor guy. Never really lived up to expectation, it seems like, right now. There is Monroe on defense. Like I said, we don't really need defensive help, though. There is still Gormley on the block. I think he was on the block last time in New Jersey, though, when we looked. Yeah, he was in New Jersey and then traded to Dallas or something like that. Signed with them in the offseason. I don't know. Yeah, $12.8 million is a lot for an 83 overall playmaker. There is Copeland on the block, who's a power forward, so he can score, but he's not scoring right now. Only 9 goals. If we're wanting to bring in a goal scorer, we got to find somebody that actually could score goals. 9 goals is not going to cut it. Pressburg is a unsigned prospect right now. I forgot about Pressburg because I think he was on the block in the offseason. So the Oilers are cap constraint probably because we traded them Nicholas. But yeah, Pressburg is an RFA at the moment. We wouldn't be able to play him until next season. So kind of sucks. I wouldn't trade for him right now anyways. Maybe in the offseason if we need a new third line center. Aside from that, Minnesota, no prospects. I don't really need prospects though. Montreal, nothing. Nashville, nothing. New Jersey. There's another goalie in Janes who's 23 years old, high starter. Winquist, who's a power forward, center power forward. Actually has some pretty good stats, 30 points in 43 games. Like, we could move on from Ashton if we really want to, but I think Ashton will be doing better maybe back in that second line spot. I actually need to take a look if he's actually on the power play though too, because if he's not on the power play, that'll definitely help with more offensive production for him. McDonough in New York. This guy's already dropped off a cliff, and he's making 5.8. Yikes. Halschuk, Kagorodov. There is decent options out there, but I honestly don't know if it's stuff that's super necessary. So Honen's only got 5 goals as a power forward, so that's not good enough for me. I need somebody that's doing a lot better than that if I'm going to actually bring them in. Pittsburgh's got nothing. San Jose's got Budens on the block. Seattle has a guy named Crane on the block. I don't think I've ever seen this Crane because we have obviously our own Crane. Shane Crane. What a name. This might be related to our Crane. Let's see, how does he simulate 39 points? He's not too bad. He's only played 4 years in the NHL by the age of 29, though. Shane Crane, huh? It would be interesting just to bring him in as a depth forward if we really wanted to, but just because he could be the brother of our Crane, but I don't know if it's necessary. Hextall. Hextall's on his ELC, and he's almost NHL ready. This guy's decent, but who knows how he would simulate in the NHL level. Tampa has another goalie. There's a lot of good goalies on the block, but that's nothing we need. Toronto's got Lockhart on the block after they signed him. Hey, we could bring back Lockhart, but I would have to try and get them 50% retained. He's actually having a good season again in Toronto. 19 goals and 35 points through 42. But I think he's getting overpaid a little bit. Canone, $14 million, no thank you. Huxley's a playmaker. Ekman's a playmaker. Utah, nothing there, just prospects. Vancouver, more prospects. And Vegas, nothing there either. There's a lot of prospects on the block right now. Washington still has Harris on the block with 1 year left. I just wish he would come here, but he wouldn't. His 26 goals in 42 games is fantastic. This guy used to be a franchise player at one point. He's 39 years old, and he's a very solid goal scorer. But you could see that here, if we go down here, I don't think he'd actually want to come to this team. We will try and see, but I don't think he would. Erickson, who used to play with us and in Pittsburgh, he must be playing with Erickson. Erickson must be playing with Harris now. I didn't realize he's been in Washington the last 3 years, but he has. So shout out to Matthias Erickson. Utala's there as a two-way. Ferguson is a sniper. And we'll check Winnipeg here briefly, too. They have Nagy, who's that sniper that used to play in Columbus, but he's dropped off a lot, too. Yeah, I'm not really seeing a good goal scorer other than Harris. And if we go to try and trade for Harris, does this glitch still work? It actually does still work, this glitch, because he does not have us on his trading block. I'm pretty certain. But if you go to trade for asset, you could trade for him. But I think then I might break the game. So, like, it looks like I could trade for him right now. I think if I go to propose trade with Washington and try and do it, I would not be able to add him to the actual trade. It's just a glitch that you could use to work around things. But hopefully they fix that for 26. Because I don't like cheesing the game like that. But if we go to right wingers here and look at Harris, he's got that modified no trade clause. He would actually come here. Okay. I mean, Washington's in a playoff spot like us, though, so that doesn't make sense that they'd want to move him maybe. But he's on 1 year left. And he has never won a Stanley Cup, even though he's been a Washington Capital his entire career. He's got over 1,600 points. He's over a point per game in his NHL career. And he's been a very good player. He's been there since the Ovechkin days. Like, he's listed as a second line forward. He's a right-handed shot. But he actually would come here. I guess he's on that we're on that modified no trade. I thought it was not the case, but maybe we made a glitch so it now allows us to, but I didn't think it would allow us to before. I thought last season I tried to look into him and it wouldn't come here. But maybe it's because he was on that no trade clause and now it's changed to modified? I don't know. That's strange. Let's go to find trade and see right now what Washington would want. If they would actually give me a deal, potentially, in mind. Or else we'll have to think about what we want to do. But Harris, let's see. A fourth and a fifth? Wow, they wouldn't even care. Just because of his $10.73 million cap hit. Like, we have the cap space to take that. They would also take Pollock straight up. But we could obviously try and get them to retain and give up maybe more to retain. Or we could literally just bring him in and don't care about his cap hit. I'm just trying to think of where I would logistically slot him in. Like I said, he's a really good goal scorer, especially. We bring him in. We are going to be having to move Dempsey to the third line, probably. Lysak could stay fourth line. But that would probably push Koivunen back to the AHL, likely. Which he hasn't been scoring goals right now, so That might not be a bad play. It might not be a bad play. Koivunen doesn't go through waivers. We send him down. Dempsey gets demoted to third line. He has been scoring goals, Dempsey, but Trotter hasn't. We could put Trotter on that third line instead, move Kazan off to the right side. You know what? I think we might honestly look into that next episode. I was not expecting to actually be able to trade for him because, like I said, I don't think we were able to trade for him before. I feel like maybe he was on a no-trade clause then, but his clause changed to modified, and that makes him available to us. And that would free up a lot of cap space for Washington. And let's go back to Harris's stats here. Like I said, he's a great goal scorer. He doesn't cost a lot. He's already got 26 goals in 42 games. He's under point per game, but he would bring goal scoring to this team. And right now, that's kind of the struggle, even though we are 13th in goals for. But you can see that he's had an interesting career. It's not the craziest career for a guy that used to be franchised, but early in his career, he was starting to find himself, had a 108-point season, then played a long time, was getting decent numbers, had a pretty down year after 90 points randomly, but then jumped up by 40 points, so a big increase. Then had a lot of solid years again, another 100-point season. Hasn't slowed down that much, and then slowed down here. And hasn't hit that same status since. But yeah, he's still a good player, but he's definitely kind of been struggling because he's been on a bad team for so long. Like, they've only made the playoffs 6 times this entire franchise mode because he was drafted in 2026. So most of this entire franchise mode, the Caps have not been a playoff team. We bring him here. Maybe he has a chance to win a Stanley Cup or get us a Stanley Cup and get guys like Hrenak Cup. So I think that's something we're going to look into next episode if you guys think it's a good idea. Like I said, the only thing that I would go against is the Washington Capitals are in a wildcard spot right now, but they're very neck and neck with the Rangers, so them offloading that would help them fall out of it, and maybe they could get a good player because of that, but I think Harris is the man we need to look into, potentially. I'm very excited if we do get him, though, and like I said, it's not going to cost us a lot, too, and we could just demote Koivunen back to the AHL again, because he hasn't been scoring so far. Makes the AHL team maybe a little bit better, too, while we're at it. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode in Your Calendars franchise mode. So next episode, we might make a big trade for Harris and give ourselves some more goal scoring. Aside from that, I've been really impressed with this team's defensive play for a young team, especially with the goaltenders and all that. So hopefully that continues in the rest of the season, and hopefully we could lock ourselves up in a playoff spot. So just hang down below, and I'll see you guys next time.